Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Juan, and this is the place where we are all artists. So today we'll be painting to what I consider a masterpiece, which is Ron Howard's 2000 film, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, starring Jim Carrey. Okay everybody, so the colors that I'll be using today are white, green, yellow, red, and black, okay? So this canvas is actually pretty small. It's actually only 8 by 10. So let's get to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with, because it's a small canvas, I'm gonna start with number 6 flat brush, okay? And here I have my water. I have some napkins or paper towels. So I'm gonna dip my brush in water and then I'm gonna dry it really well so that nothing is left in that brush. So we're gonna start with the hand, okay? Of course, so all it is his arm holding a broken Christmas ornament. That's the painting. So let's start with the hand. So the color of the Grinch is not just green, actually. It has a little bit of white in it to make it a little bit less cartoon-like. This is the shade that we're going for. Okay, so now I want to make sure I never have too much paint at once. So I wipe off some of it. So then I'm going to start with some lines. Okay, very, very simple. That, okay? So his hand is like this. This is how his hand is exactly. So right now we're painting this part. This finger, this line here, and then the thumb. So this is the pointer finger, okay? Then the thumb. But right now it won't make much sense at all. That's it. It's kind of like some kind of a hieroglyph or symbol, right? Okay, let me paint a little bit more in here. So this brush, right? It's good for what we're doing so far. But for the little spindly edges of the fingers, it's a little too thick. So I'll move to a detail brush for that in a little bit. But for now, I'm just still doing this. So now this is the arm, like I said, part of it. Okay, just like that. So what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to use it like this, flat, meaning like sweeping. I'm not going to lay it flat like this because then it's very broad, the brush strokes. Instead, I'm going to use it kind of like a cutting tool to make a very thin line, okay, kind of like a blade. All right, so I'm going to use it to make the other fingers. Just the idea, at least, of each finger. But I won't go all the way to the edge of the fingers because once again, I'll use a smaller brush for that. So now let me go ahead and move to a smaller brush. So I'm gonna move to a much smaller brush. This is it. I'll put this one in the water and continue with this one, the same color. And now it's more freedom. There's more freedom to kind of not be so careful because there's not so much of a fear of making my lines too big. Now it's much more comfortable to apply more pressure because once again, it's not so small and thin. So now I can kind of move more freely. He has hairy fingers. So the film is one of my favorites when it comes to the season. Just one of my favorite movies all around. But I definitely wait for the holiday season to watch it. But it's a lot of fun. Great performances, especially the titular character. But of course, also Cindy Lou Who and the mayor, everybody really. Clint Howard, right? Ron Howard's brother is in it. And the actor who played the Grinch as a youngster, he did amazing too. Okay, so starting to already come together. Just move slowly. The edge, I barely press so that it could be very thin. Then once I get around here, then I press harder the brush so that it could get broader. Okay, the thumb. Okay, so that's what we have so far. Let's see. Let me add more paint over here. So I'll move back and forth a little bit between brushes. So I'll put this one in the water for now. I'll get the other one back. And you see how it's like a little translucent. You can see I'm drying the brush, by the way. I washed it. I had it in the water. Now I'm drying it. But it's a little translucent here. You can see through it. Okay, so I'm just kind of adding more paint, so there's a little bit, but not everywhere. Sorry, let me make sure I careful. I'm putting it up here where the light would be hitting Jim Carrey's arm and hand, right? The light, it comes from up here, so it hits these parts more. Right, and then the dark areas, the areas that remain green but kind of dark, are basically the shadowy areas. Okay, what do you guys think so far? Pretty easy, right? All right, so just kind of leave it like that. So now this is the darkness, right? This is definitely shadow, that blank part. And you could always even go lighter. It makes it more striking. For now, I'll leave it like that. Let me just make sure I get up here a little bit more. All right, so now let's move right along. So I'm gonna wash my brush and start with the white part of the Santa suit, the arm. Washing this, just hit the bottom of the cup many times. Take it out, dry it, making sure that nothing is left in there, no paint at all, completely dry. White by itself. Okay. Then start right here. Now I won't mix it too much with the green. I don't want to really go over the green yet. It's not fully dry, so if I do, it'll mix a lot. And kind of dabbing so that it looks fuzzy. Just kind of try to make this a little fuzzy. That's why I'm still kind of pressing on it. I want it to be fuzzy. All right. So now we're moving right along to the red of his Santa suit. So I'm gonna wash this once again. Okay. Dry it again really well. Nothing coming out of it. Okay, and then red. Now we will make a little bit more. We will make different shades of red. Well, one extra shade at least. But for now, let's just apply the red by itself. Okay, so now, so this is the arm. So let's start off with a little bit of the arm here. Now, like I said, there is going to be shadows, so I'm not painting, you know, everything just red. Kind of trying to make it easy for myself to add shadows by kind of letting the shadows just appear by not adding some paint in some of these areas. So this is the, you know, the clothing, right? It has like wrinkles and stuff. All right, so this goes right up and then it disappears. And this, again, this black area left is the shadows. All right, so now that this is like this, right? I'm going to make a darker red. So I take some black and red, and it changes it right away. It makes like a burgundy maroon, right? And this is what I'm going to use to make some of the shadows. Okay, and I'm still going to leave some areas just black for some shadows. It's just like that. See how simple it is? So I'm going to wash my brush again, and I'm going to go full red again. Full red. So I'm washing it, drying it again, nothing left in there. And I'm going to take red by itself, and you can trace something, or you could try to make the circle by yourself. It's just a perfect circle. Let's see, I'm going to try to trace something. Okay, so for me, I'm going to use the top of this gloss finish container. You could use anything, obviously, and something I'm going to use actually is just a pencil, just to trace it right here, and then try to just make it now. I do want to paint over the pencil line. I don't want that showing, but I also don't want to just paint everything. There's a, you know, there's spheres have all sorts of colors because of shadows. I want to do kind of like with the arm, like I was mentioning, just paint some and leave some areas with no paint. All right, so for example here, right, the ornament in the picture is cracked. It has a hole. So let's leave the hole right here. This is the hole. Okay, so there I have my sphere, and I'll let that dry because it is going to need more colors. And while I let that dry, I think this is dry enough to add more red. So I'm going to wash my brush, and only because, you know, it has dark red in there and I want the bright red again. I wash it, and off camera I'm drying it. Once again, a lot of repetition when it comes to layering. Get more paint, and this is going to be brighter. But remember, only the top, because I only want brightness to really hit the areas that would have light hitting it. What am I talking about? There's some here too. I'm looking at the reference picture. Okay, so it's definitely lighter than before. Let me do the Grinch one more time. All right, so I make some more of this, and then wipe off some of it so it's not too overwhelming. Then once again, now it's very bright. But remember, don't add on everything because that way you leave shadows. So I should get my detail brush for some of these small areas. And I'll do that. So I'll put that in the water, get my detail brush again. And we're basically repeating the steps. That's all it is, just repetition. Lots of repetition. The good thing is about the Grinch, painting the Grinch, is that if you do go outside the lines, it's really no big deal because he's supposed to be all sorts of fuzzy and not smooth. Okay, so now I'm gonna work on that little piece of the ornament. Let's do that. So I'm gonna use the detail brush. So I'm gonna wash the detail brush. The reason I'm using the detail brush is because that piece is so small, right? But of course, whatever you're using, whatever brush you might have is what's gonna have to be. So this part of the ornament is it's supposed to be gold. So let's make an orange color to start off. So we mix red and some yellow. It's gonna be like nice orangey or reddish orange, like this. Do it in layers, just like we did everything else. Now some of it does go over the red, like it's like what's a good shape to describe it? An upside down pot. Okay, so that's it for now. When it comes to that, let that dry, and that definitely needs another layer. So let's do the string. So for the string, it's definitely a detail brush. So I'm gonna wash my brush again. And I'm gonna do white. Very simple. So I do need to add a drop of water in there. Make it a little thinner. And like I mentioned, it's definitely a detail brush. So there's first, a little ring. Okay, and then the string. There you go. All right, so let me not just leave the string like that. I'll put a corresponding line here so that it's not just so short. Okay, so like that, okay. And while that dries, let me work a little bit on I'll just use the detail brush since I have it here. I'll use white. I don't have to add water or anything, just white. And add some, well, once again, because my canvas is so small, this detail brush works even for larger areas like this. And you see, painting in layers, like adding more layers to your painting, really starts to bring it together. That white is so nice and bright. Like, okay, let me just go ahead and use this detail brush to add another layer of red. So I wash it again, dry it really well. Yeah, whenever you paint acrylic, just revisit it as many times as you need to. So it's definitely nice and bright. Because it's small, the brush is more comfortable. I'm not too afraid of going outside the areas I'm aiming for. And yeah, it's definitely, you definitely need to do layers when you're doing a black canvas, because it's so, like Batman the Animated Series, they they did the drawings for that series from the 90s on black paper. That's why, and even in the end, it has such like a dark look to it, because the paper matters a lot. So you have, when you paint, you have to do it, sometimes you have to add lots of layers. Okay. All right. So lots of back and forth. I'm looking at things I have to do. A couple of hair strands that the Grinch needs on his hand. So I'm going to use the detail brush, wash it, dry it, drying it. The same white green concoction. So I'm just looking at some of the strands that need to come out of here, hair strands. Very thin though. And if you don't feel comfortable, you could just omit it. You don't, it's not absolutely necessary. Just like the furriness of Jim Carrey's take on the character. Very pungent kind of look. Oh, and while I have my green here and my brush and a detail brush, I'm gonna add some color in here. It's kind of a little too dark in there. Let me wipe off the paint, most of it, and let's see if there's any left in here in the on the brush. Yes, there's a little paint, so I use that to kind of fill in some of this, but very soft. Very, very soft. There, nice. Let's see here too a little bit. Kind of just closing some of these. There, that's good. That's enough shadow, I think. So you control the shadow. You control the shadows. Just making him a little bit more robust. Yeah, I'm washing my brush again. The little one, the tiny detail brush. I'm kind of just sticking to the detail brush for the rest of the painting. So what I did right here with the green, right, add some barely visible green in there. I'm gonna do the same thing with this red, this area. So I'm taking my red. Yeah, red is fine. Okay. The other red that I made dried on me, so I won't make it again. I'll just use this. So this red. But now I won't apply that. I'm gonna wipe it off, and then with what's left, kind of just rub some color in there. Do it again. That way it's soft. You just control your colors. But then there is darkness, like complete, almost like total black right here. I'm looking at the reference, the original picture. All right, so that's good. So now I'm gonna add another layer to that, to this little golden part of the ornament. I don't have to wash my brush because it's kind of dry and it's related, the color. So I'm gonna take this golden orange mixture thing and add another layer. All right, so now I'm gonna add some, I washed my brush again and dried it, and I'm gonna add some red again to the ornament. And you'll see it's really, really bright because it's a second layer. but not everywhere, like once again, because I want the areas that I don't add it to basically be indicative of shadows. Okay. All right, so now there has to be lights hitting this ornament. You see the orange I made here? I'm gonna add some right here actually. Right here. And you'll see it'll come together in a little bit. Okay, so just like that. Just a tiny bit over here. Okay, and then I wash my brush and I'm gonna do something on this side. So I wash my brush, I dry it again really, really well. Then I'm gonna get white. And I'm gonna make a reflection. This is kind of like a geometric shape. Okay, so there's our first reflection on the ornament. And the other one is going to be on this yellow we just added. I mean, this orange yellow mixture. So I take my brush and I add it right there. And if it mixes a little bit, even better. There. I'm going to give this one more helping, one more layer of that orange mixture. So now as you see, it's much, much brighter. I actually didn't wash my brush. I just used it without washing it, but that's okay because it was such little paint left in there. All right. And now the last part, okay. Oh, no, there's a couple of more parts. So I'm washing my brush, drying it again. And this area right here is black. It has black paint. It's not just empty without anything. It has black paint. This hole. And the reason why we have to add it is because there's also cracks. So just kind of swiggly lines. Jagged, I should say. There, so it's cracked, obviously, right? Okay, I'll wash it, let that dry. It's like I don't want to finish because it's so much fun, this painting. All right, so now white. So I'm taking white again, and I'm gonna add some little circles, or yeah, just little circles. This is kind of indicative of the ornaments, you know, like the design. Just like that. Okay. So I'm gonna take white again. Okay. And I'm gonna add some more light up here, but I don't want to overwhelm that green up there. So I'm gonna wipe off some of it. Just some of it, like gentle like that. And then let's start over here so where it makes sense. And you notice I'm not going back for more paint. It's whatever is there already. And I kind of try to soften it a little bit by just rubbing it. Because I don't want to just change the painting so much that that it becomes like it has snow on it. I want to rub it. But anytime you add hints of light to anything in a painting, I believe that it really makes it look, it really makes it pop out and stand out. Okay. There's just one more thing. So I have white right here. So I take white again. And to show that this is cracked, you put a little bit of line right here to show that there's light hitting that little break. And then you could write something on your painting. You could write, "You're a mean one, don't be a mean one, happy holidays" from your stinky friend. Anything you want to do. It's your painting. You just put your signature, your initials, Merry Christmas, ho, 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 whatever you want to do. It's your painting. You worked so hard on it. But thank you so much for watching the video, and happy holidays, everybody.